I am not a financial advisor, so don't follow anything I say in this video. This is not financial advice. So, I believe that the coming recession or depression, whatever you want to call it, financial crisis that we're going to have, it's going to be way worse than I originally thought. And it's starting to get even more interesting as time goes by because you're able to see how things unfold and the possibilities after these things unfold increase, and then you can see how severe things are. It's kind of like peeling an onion where you can see um, different layers and different possibilities. Anyways, why do I say this? So I've been listening to Peter Schiff for many years, and he's been spot on, right on about the economy and what the Federal Reserve has been doing over the years. And I still get surprised um, because everything he said has been on the dot. So, just to give an example, we just had Silicon Valley Bank crash last week. Well, we have 6.5% inflation right now, and the Federal Reserve is trying to get it down to 2%, like we normally have. But in order to get it down from 6.5, they need to keep increasing interest rates. The issue is that they can't continue increasing interest rates because if not, banks are going to go under, banks are going to collapse, right? And depositors are going to lose their money. So, what did the Federal Reserve do? They saved Silicon Valley Bank, right? They saved the depositors, but how did they do it? Well, they had to print new money in order to save the bank, right? So, which is inflationary. So on one hand, the Federal Reserve is saying they want to raise rates and they want to tame inflation, right? On the other hand, banks are starting to collapse now and they're printing more money to save the banks. So you can't have it both ways. You got to do one or the other. You either stop printing, right? Or you print money. And the all the money printing that the Federal Reserve has done over the past decade plus has brought us up to this point where now they either continue printing money to quote unquote save the economy, right? Or save the banks and save the depositors' money, or let the banks fall and save the dollar. Because if you wanna save the dollar, right? Well, you gotta increase interest rates, no matter what, no matter the cost, and that cost right now is proving to be failing banks. So so what happens? So if you're someone that doesn't know anything about economics and you have your money in the bank, right? What would you prefer? You would obviously prefer to lose 6.5% a year on inflation versus losing all your money because your bank just failed, right? So, so what do I think the Federal Reserve is going to do from now on? I think they will prefer to keep inflation high, have banks running, and people not lose their money from the bank, even though that money in the bank is losing value day by day, right? This opens a next possibility or a certainty, which is the following: banks will start seeing that inflation is at 6.5%, while other currencies from other countries, which have managed their currency better than we have, are below 6.5%. Right now, China is at 2% inflation per year. So if you're an American or if you're a bank in the US, it makes more sense that instead of holding dollars, you hold Chinese currency or something else, right? Something below 6.5% inflation, right? So, what happens in that case? So, if you're someone that's holding dollars and you sell them to buy some other currency, well, dollars lose value, the other currency gains value. So that makes the inflation problem even worse because it's not only going to be 6.5%, it's going to get even higher. And it's just it's like a spiral, and the Fed is basically stuck. um they're in a very very bad position, and this started, um I mean, mostly after the pandemic, when about 10 to 12 trillion dollars were printed right as the pandemic started, and that money was handed into to corporations and the PPP loans and unemployment and a bunch of other stuff, which created a huge bubble in stocks and created a bunch of inflation, which we are seeing now. I mean, food prices are ridiculous. I just went to the supermarket yesterday. I wanted to buy a juice. Uh, I don't even think it was a gallon. It was just like 96 ounces, and it was $7.50. We're talking about like a grape juice was I think $7.50, and then you have to add taxes to that. It's just ridiculous. Um, so that's inflation. Um, so the thing is, if the Federal Reserve doesn't let banks collapse, then they're just gonna keep kicking the can down the road by printing money to save the banks. And what they're gonna be making in the future is gonna be an even bigger problem where even more banks will have to collapse. Um, and it's just, till when? Like, till when are they gonna keep doing this? So I believe we're either gonna have riots because of high inflation, or we're gonna have riots because of failing banks. One or the other. Because the Federal Reserve, by printing so much money, they're pushing they're pushing the whole system in that direction, to have one or the other. And what I believe is going to happen at one point is the Federal Reserve is gonna keep printing money to save the banks. Sure, they're gonna kick the can down the road until they won't be able to, until there's gonna be so many riots due to so much high inflation, maybe, 10, 15, 20% or higher inflation, where they will be forced then to raise interest rates. But to the point where they're going to have to raise interest rates in that future will have to be way higher than we are currently right now, and the banking collapse will be even larger. So I don't think there's I don't think there's a way out at this point. So basically, if you have money in the bank right now and you're just a regular customer or say a multimillionaire dollar investor, you you have two choices. You have two choices. You can keep your money in the bank and risk losing it all to a banking collapse, right? Or you will lose the value of your currency because of inflation, right? So, in both of those scenarios, it does not make any sense to hold your money in the bank, right? So what do you do in that case, right? Um, well, inflation hedges, right? Which are the most common ones? Well, commodities or Bitcoin, right? Um, when we talk about commodities, well, there's a bunch of different ones, but the most common ones are gold and silver, right? Um, so if there's this thing about gold and the U.S. dollar, they trade in opposite directions for the most part. When gold goes up, the dollar goes down. When the dollar goes up, gold goes down, right? So if banks start switching their dollars for gold, for example, that's going to put even more downward pressure on the US dollar, and which means that inflation would get even higher than that. And we haven't even touched the topic of the debt that the U.S. owes, the national debt, which is at 31 trillion plus right now, and the debt ceiling. That's a whole nother story because if they keep increasing the debt ceiling, well, that just allows for more money printing and for more inflation. There's gonna have to come. The government is gonna have to reach a point where they're going to have to limit the debt ceiling. But if that happens, then a bunch of benefits, Social Security, VA benefits, pensions, and so on, all of that is going to have to be cut because the government isn't going to be able to afford it. Or they're either going to have to raise taxes even higher than they are now on Americans in order, for those costs to be covered. Um, but how can you raise taxes when you're going into a recession or depression? That doesn't make any sense. You're just basically adding fire to, adding gasoline to the fire, and you're just going to make a banking crisis even worse. So so this is really, really, really bad. I mean, I thought for many years I didn't think it was going to be this bad. And as days go by, as time passes by, the Federal Reserve is making it even worse. Um, so your kids and your kids' kids will have to suffer through this. It's just gonna push Americans towards poverty. Is the way I see it. Higher taxes, poverty, bank failures, inflation. Um, yeah, that's higher food prices, people losing their homes, their cars. Oh man, it's gonna be really, really bad this next financial crisis. Anyways, if you like this video, Please like, share, subscribe, comment, watch my other videos. And like I mentioned, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know anything about this stuff. Good day.